Jumbo Jonde de Bishi Sheba Jumbo Yanda Bo Zobe Sanye Ribo Da Shatu Dewar Sheba Jidin Jemba Jewudi Kalu Yuba Lana Meba Lada Mena Jeba Sanje Jonde Pejewa Shaya Tuba La Chate Lo Chobo Jat Udumbo Junde de Shi Shibo Cha Chumbo Yanda Zobe Ribo Do Shazu Debora Dewar Shiba Jidin Jiu Due Kalu Yuba Lana Meba Lada Mena Dumbo Sanje Junde de Pejewa Shaya Tuba La Chate Chadu Jazu Je Udumbo Jonde de Shi Jumbo Yanda Obe Sanje Rivana Chadu Devara Sheba Jede Jewu Dube Kalu Yumba Lana Meba Mena Gumbo Sanje Junde de Bejewa Shaja Tuba La Cha Jazu Je Ade Gane Do Je Saje de la Gomba Dube Mane Jede de la Joje Zo De Ze Keba Jela Cha Anda Bowa Jodu Susawa Yeje Jazu Seje Rambara Kaba Jede Zona Lameo Gombo Jene Jela Jaza Senjo Dembo Jime Dave Jo Senjo Jawa Jela Jaza Tete Jena Sebo Suna Ji Nyame Jini Jela Jaza Gombo Duje Jedemba Tamji Jebe Jemba Soda Yede Jazo Je Deshi Shela Chaza Tabe Duja Jewa Gyu Gewe Nezu Leju Chidu Dena Chidu Ba Chidu Jela Jaza Rone Jove Maya Lava Lava Xie Dava Yede Gedu Laya Chaza Deva Jaya Meja Shi Jewa Kusun Soba Rage Sene Yonzu Dene Sanje Demba Kama Rambi Maneda Juma Seba Jura Mela Lola Veda Tuji Juna Veda Tanangi Tamje Sebaye Gobondune Gindi Rade Gada Nada Chive Lapule Sebe Tole Joa Jovara Sho.
To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, true Godhead, Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the character man, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans who are born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best sword, to you I prostrate. with the supreme sign, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one God, the thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime reality, to that dharma which pacifies thy prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path for liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community and intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, but perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Although a mirage, a flame of a lamp, a delusion, a drop of dew, or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, the condition things as such. Do these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all beings, subdue the fall of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death.
Baba Gujo Sumla Cha Selo Dige Dage Toba Deje Donde De Jebu Go Changu Pumbu Rela Gelon Gedu Chimbo Da Chanchu Sebe Gedu Chimbo Da Tawa Chidu Shuzo Te Se Chumde De Samo Nawa Shij Shije Naraji Tengen Zela Nyongara Shuzo Yang Te Se Chanchu Semba Semba Baba Jereze Wanju Ragi Parudo Chimba Samo Cheba Nila Nambara Tashi Pumbo Tedala Rasiji Tombara Nambara Tao Tene Sanji Jitu Seda Demba Riji Anju Semba Semba Jembo Baba Jereze Wanju Digeje Meso O Kalala Sherabji Parudo Chimba Samo Cheba Chuba Deba Shedara Bracha, Ege Meba, Chanju Samba, Samba Jembo, Baba Jerry, Wanju, Sedan Demba, Sherry, Tade Bola, Ege, Sherry Bo, Rije Bo, Rije Bo, Kalala, Sheraje, Samo Jeba, Juba, Deba, Deda, Number Tawa, Jade, Bombo, Deda, Laya, Raji, Tomba, Lamba, Yanda, Jesu, Tao. Tombani Suzo Sule, Tombani Shema, Tombani Reja, Tuje Mayeno, Tejendo, Towadan, Tishitan, Tishi, Nambara Shebana, Tomba, Sheribu, Teta Chetanji, Tomba Nidi, Tini, Majeba, Magaba, Tima, Meba, Timada, Tewa, Tewa, Meba, Kawa, Meba. Sheribu, Nedavana, Tomba Nila, Sume, Sora, Me, Namba Sheba, Me, Nawa, Me, Name, Cheme, Lume, Yime, Sume, Shime, Rome, Rejame, Shime, Do, Miji, Kame, Miji, Kame, Yiji, Nambara Shebe, Kaje, Pade, Yame, Mariba, Me, Mariba, Seba, Me, Kashi, Me, Kashi, Sebe, Pade, Yame, Do, Deshin, Do, Doma, Kujo, Wada, Gobada, Lame, Yishime, Toba, Me, Mako, Paya, Medo, Sheribu, Tadavana, Jaju, Sembana, Toba, Mebi, Chiri, Shiraji, Parugu, Teje, Nede, Semla, Tiba, Meji, Traba, Mede, Chiji, Lord, Chindo, Dene, Nyangele, Debe, Tara, Chindo, Tuzundu, Nabra, Shube, Shiraji, Parugu, Chimbala, Tene, Lama, Meba, Yada, Zobe, Umbra, Zoba, Sa, Jesu, Tadavana, Shiraji, Parugu, Chimbe, Ma, Reba, Chimbu, Dana, Mebe, Minyamba, Nyembe, Kunge Damje Radu Shivar Chebe Minjubena Demba Shiva Chade Shiraji Paru Du Chebe Ngame Kayata Gade Gade Para Sangade Buddhi Su Chade Bu Janju Samba Samba Jembu Deda Shiraji Paru Du Cheba Samola Lava Tene Jonden de Dengen Dele Shende Sanju Samba Baba Jele Se Wanjula Leso She Chawa Chene Leso Riji Tede Shindu Tede Shende Chidara Chuji Temba Shindu Sheraji Parudu Kamola Jebara Jade Tishin Sheba Nagya Jesu Yir Jonden Deje Dege Jeka Zene Tena Temba Shere Dade Buddha Chanju Samba Baba Jele Se Wanchu Dan Amje Dan Tembe Koro De Dada Adam Mida Amari Kesa Jebe Jide Yiran De Jonden Deje Sumba Momba De To.
Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and Bodhisattva. At that time, the Blessed One was suddenly absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shantideva spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahatma, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahatma, replied to the Venerable Shantideva, saying, O Shantideva, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, confirmation, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shantideva are empty without pure existence. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, in Bodhisattva and emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formation, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes, no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no sensation of suffering, no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, because there is no attainment, all Bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond. And because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas as well in the three times are relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, both perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of grace study, the fully called and unsurpassed mantra of the one all suffering to be the truth, for there is no delusion. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. This is how learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. But the one rose in that concentration and praise the noble Avalokiteshvara. The Bodhisattva Mahatma saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as it is. And then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One said this, the Venerable Shantideva, the noble Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering, the world is God, and the gods and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So in the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
아니 자세 자주스인데 저벌 라비아가 시도라 롭센데니 준주고 되죠 세단다 준주고 시도 좀 받아라 나도다 간다 뭐그 자세 자주스 만남지 그 제대로 깨봐 깨되는 때 저벌 라비 아니 자주스 배 저벌 냠슬란 아니다 아니 사지지 고반 토바 쳐바 대나신 아니 말한서 장 대다 대 문중기 벤루는 게 지달 라바나시 말한서 양 아무 터바지 삼바지 고바지 어다 되지 남라 로고요래서
Okay, it's Thursday now, and we resume the way of the Bodhisattva. This is a class instructive in the way of the Bodhisattvas, the Charya of the Bodhisattva. In order to train in the mode of behavior of Bodhisattvas, we have this class in the way of the Bodhisattva. Just as the Bodhisattvas of the past, in the very way that they developed the mind of awakening, in the very way that they implemented the mind of awakening in their trainings, and in the very way they achieved Buddhahood ultimately. And just as the pundits, the great scholars of the past, engaged in their study, so too do we study, contemplate, and meditate.
that is 제가 인디즈 마다나 부제에서 전주선배 저바 승인들다 말았나 예바 가리바 럽나 표현 가리바 어디서 누구만 숨나가다니 가서 다시 사가 들어와서
The trainings of Bodhisattvas, when one neglects to train as they have, what are the disadvantages? When one does train just as they do, what are the advantages? These are outlined in the first 3 chapters of the text.
됐다. 나도 간다. 자주쌤 마제바디 깨바디 다 마녀바 내바 패와 제와 제약이 된다라다 당부 자주쌤 랑이 줄라 깨바디 마녀바 송야 탑식이 된다라 아니다 류시바디 냠내 제야디 송구여래서.
Now, where the mind of awakening hasn't arisen, to develop it. Where it has arisen, to preserve it. Where it is preserved, to intensify. Now, where the mind of awakening has arisen, it must be preserved. It must be guarded. And thus, the 4th chapter.
오야, 사자다 루시바 나갔다 실 명들라 루시바 바유기 루세. 바유기 루세 바유바시야 바유바 치사이다 내도 칼레가르시 가진 땅골에 시에 차와들라 루제 라발라 때네 바유바 차와스 sabje 직세. 루제 라발라 때네 바유바 차와스. 오야, 다데 때 텐절 삼데 바유바 차와스. 아니 지금 그래다 방제 니모로 삼데 바유가 차와서 어디 sabje 숨디 나라다 류시바 차만 되고 해서
Conscientiousness, the 4th chapter. Name conscientiousness, titled conscientiousness. And conscientiousness is of the forms, and these forms give outline to the chapter, the forms being conscientiousness in the implementation of training, conscientiousness in the awareness of the precious human rebirth with its leisures and endowments, and conscientiousness toward the end of abandoning mental affliction.
오야, that is that the 이르다마다 가장 안도다 시에대 가스나 아니 다 텐졸라 때네 아니 바유 체고가 때마 바유 체고 봐서야 돼. 어디 가서 네가도 시작돼요. 그래서
Now where we are now is in a consideration of conscientiousness as it is required as one utilizes the precious human rebirth with its leisures and endowments.
오야, 세상 텐졸라 때네 바유가 저와서야 되라. 아니 텐졸니까 삼노 땅에 바유 차단직 아니 텐졸 미송로 맞게나 아니 미송로 탈까와라 섬이 바유 차와니 아니 텐졸 톱에 뒤되라 아니 텐졸 개와라 배고유 바라 섬이 바유 때 왔어. 인나는 subject 같은 숨지 장요래 손.
Within the section emphasizing conscientiousness as it is implemented on the basis of a precious human body with leisures and endowments. This section itself has 3 further subsections that emphasize the difficulty of achieving that basis, the precious human rebirth, and the need for conscientiousness, followed by the difficulty of achieving liberation once one has fallen into a hell, and therefore the need for conscientiousness, followed again by the appropriateness of making an effort in one's conscientiousness, having achieved the basis that is the human body with its leisures and endowments.
어떻게 다디 나네 다다 텐줄 톱이 뒤들라 아니 랑기다 겨월라 베리바 베 고버 템바스 오 디테야 텐달란 가진 땅 앞들다 보면 셰디하게 다 사와디 신도 니가 펜베사 지식 달데 니주나 다니 셰다 된지나 치연녀와 대체는 나지 몸벌 제바지 달라 대신 매도스에서 계산하고 들어가면 합시다. 장사적 측들을 해서
Presently, having achieved the basis that is the precious human rebirth with leisures and endowments, it is now appropriate to strive in virtue. Here, the 26th verse on page 57, which we covered last week, for it's as if by chance that I have gained this state so hard to find, wherein to help myself. If now, while having such discernment, I am once again consigned to hell, I am as if benumbed by sorcery, as if reduced to total mindlessness.
그래서 너야 다 간다라 가랑조 누구디 아니 누구를 무죄인데 안다 전부 가나도지 전부에 대가는 누구스를 하장이 니에가와 뺄라샤 다 니에가와 대이 빼테나신 텔레장 니에가와 아니 가랑조 밀루디 있인 빼자 직시 다 니바들라 다오나 니에가와 이나 양코 된다 전부 매바다 펜도 매줘이나 니에가와 이나 개요 말때 양코 하장이 개침부 펜도 전부 여봐 배 만화도 배 전도다 신약부 나신 신약부 지어봐있는 델레 전도 가렸다면 제기 열어와 전도 차가 제부 신도 때문에 신도 제기를 아니 제다면 제 제기를 줬다면 저 제기를 가렸다면 다시 제기 열어 대 제기 열어있는데 그 신상 보스다 그러와 대나신 하나도 밀루 딜러 때네 아니 세대기 되기 치매 되기 랑이 되기 신이 되기 차가 밀루 되잖아요 토기 봐 인상 신 상볼 라 빼체니 신 상볼로 때도 가르다는 지기요가 나시 안한족을 단달이 유배 밀루들 때네 아니 연대 디질력서 연대 통제 지기요가 오 빼체니 송화를 해서
The human body, the leisures and endowments, is likened to a precious gem in the world. Precious gems, rare gems, are difficult to come by in the first place. As difficult as they are to come by, it is more difficult to inherit a human body with leisures and endowments. It would be one thing if, having achieved a human body with leisures and endowments, and its achievement being a difficult thing, it would be another matter if it were then of no use at all. But in fact, it's hard to come by, and then it is of exceptional utility to us, usefulness to us. It is, as it were, it is likened to a fertile field. Whatever is planted in it, it yields. Fruits grow in the fertile field. Wheat would grow there too. Rice would grow there. Whatever's planted in a fertile ground grows. And so it is with the precious human body, that all good and contentment for oneself and others may grow out of the precious human body. It is therefore likened to a fertile field, to a precious gem, the fertile field yielding crops. And so it is known that the precious human body is a source of all good fortune and all good contentment.
Hoy ta ne de ka bo den talen aran to ta top do talen do nie ka bo den 내가 저거 드린 톱 열었다. 톱 놓았어. 톱 열었어. 제가 톱 여봐 인자 안 다른 톱을 가르친 아니 다 조치쇼 수수기 교원만 내다 손은 전부 싸봐. 이발하니 그또 접 배땡이 접 드리기랑 진지 라발라 때문에 단행을 나도록 배 고급 상부 들리지. 다 고급 상부 들리지 톱에 뒤지들어야 돼요. 그래서
Now it is what we have got now, the human body with leisures and endowments. That thing hard to come by has been gotten, and it has been gotten through. We have come to possess it by the karma and the merit accumulated in our pasts, and by the blessing of the refuge. By the force of these, we have gotten what is so difficult to get.
오야 다 근데 이들 다 고급 상부들 토바티 이 말들이 다 다른 아니 고급 상부 아니 인당데 가래서 이제도 고급이 상부서 인당 가래서는 달랭 안절로 르데 아장게 상부 그 니가 르데 디 토비어 르데 디가 아니 sem기 sem데 아니 안절로 다 배치라도 넘버 집에 셔럽 배신 술라야 매버게 아니 셔럽 안절로 토비어레스 제단도 달랭 안절로 하게 내년에 남샤 봐서 예체 투약이 싫었대 맞을 요래 루딘 디 마이베게 텐션다 술라 요 말스 루딘 디다 덴베 덴데로 토고요 세상 가라서 사상 덴베 투주 수술라 루딘 디 토고요 아니 셈덴디 베 셈데 베 껴메바 베 랑셰바 랑신도 마네바데 마이바 랑신도 네바 아니 집에 온보마 상황 마이바 온보 상황 차단 덴바체 아니 대가는 저랑은 치어라도 남제기 싫어도 여봐지 대가는 산지기 땜버대야 그런 지대는 내를 뒤져 임바지 아니 땜배기 땜바 말하는 말 되니기 라마 제신이 양 여배 뒤져 대제배 뒤져 상부디 뒤져 라스 뒤져 될라 아니 다 랑이 냠내지 제마도나 아니 다 양조
So what is had now, what is gotten by the precious body, the precious human body, is the exceptional opportunity that it presents for the human body is an exceptional physical basis. It's the exceptional physical basis, also endowed with a mental basis, native intelligence, discriminating wisdom. This native intelligence to the human being distinguishes it from other physical bases. It is the native intelligence that allows for discrimination, moral discrimination. And this isn't shared by all other bases that are physical bases. So this human body is the physical basis. It's endowed with a native discriminating intelligence. Furthermore, one has their faculties too. And so it is just this discriminating intelligence, a native intelligence suited to comprehension of the Dharma. Furthermore, the present moment is a moment when the teachings of the Buddha are extant. Furthermore, the Kalyana Mitra, the spiritual mentor, is available to us. This is the moment, this is the exceptional moment. It is a moment to practice, and should one fail to, it will be difficult indeed to ever have again such an opportunity.
칠이 양 되네 파트 치외 제라양 아니 양종에 손을 마동 녀와라 소바 총화이나 아니 수수기 딱 간데만 녀와라 튀고도 차와라 수수기 몽바 제바르 아니 랑 루바레와 세상 디인디 디네마 랑게 타네 랑게 녀송고 동네라마 수수기 튀고도 차와라 손지
not putting to use this body, not finding the profit that could be had with this body, later on, when one tumbles into hell, it's as though one has caused it for oneself, one has cheated oneself, and led oneself there. The present moment, not used properly, is misused to lead oneself on a leash to hell.
Oh, yeah. And penna pedi and the chariosna. It's a tamani. Naji Momba Cheba since penna Azoti, that's Churu Mudibata. And it's Zona, Dama Yangate, Tuja, Yangate, Mevilla, Chamba Meva, they make it so never, they make it sometimes change to the melody, so good or the days regarding the Momba Chen and Suzu, the soul of the Yagata or the Zona layer or the Beta Suzuki. Gange Chibu Yonsa, the big Suzu go out on the Tito or Dinashi, that these are the make to jam the tea table. The Tanzania is only 3 Shen Suka tea or Mare, Suzu tea was hard there. Again, Yanga Jam, some change Mabati, again, Yangala level jam, and more chat there. That's one.
What illustrates this? The Tirthikas that cast spells with mantra, spells and mantra recitation that would numb a person, make them unconscious, and then they could be led into harm's way by the force of mantra, by the force of sorcery. This would be another casting a spell and leading one to a dangerous, unwanted place. But here the situation is different. It's as though we have cast a spell upon ourselves, the spell of bewildered foolishness.
Oh, to say that, you do that, and that's Suzu. Tamati Dala, there's a medu says, the Malabe same member the Chigua race. The same Semeji, Pembo, Dodan, Jawana, Chigua, the Chadi, the little top jaw chatty or less. Cousin Suzu, same Yushindu, and it's like some of Matuba. Some of the Rangi Hogopta, but the little Namju Chetu, Namju Yushindu, Peju Matuba, and it's same maybe. Though the Jawana, she bet the digs top jaw chavar, and the chatty or said that the day in that name of the Page the same maybe Kandachi Pageta, Pembunashi Maimba, and Beta on the Taling of the same Kanda Chura to Namjik, same diggy, Peju Tang Ne, and then Rangi, that Kanda woke up the long to us go your response.
What is one prompted to recall? In the line, I am as if benumbed by sorcery, as if reduced to total mindlessness. One is urged to reflect, is one no greater than a stick or a stone, an inanimate object, or worse than any stick or stone, an intelligent, an individual with native intelligence who does not put it to use and becomes worse than any inanimate object, worse than any stick or stone, pathetic and unable to use their intelligence, becoming, as it were, no better than being mindless and an inanimate object. Such a person is endowed with native intelligence. They would use that native intelligence, use it to take the opportunity that is present for them.
Oh, yeah, that in the Mombe with you. You go to some rigbas, subject to the Mombe, you some rigbas, that dig it Sawadi, Timon Taja, Machete, Tagi Kone, Jishi years, or Tiniman, or this one.
This is followed by an indication that it is appropriate to reflect upon the cause of such bewilderment. 2 lines to this effect. I do not know what dulls my wits. Oh, what is it that has me in its grip?
Oh, yes, the Mombe, you some rigbas, Suzuku Momba, the base. Suzuku by the only care the Gange Chimbo down the Bunga Chimbo, the Yongo, 인제디 아니다 가르치는 가르치는 삼로 마땅하라 가르치는 마셔 봐레스 아무튼 어디서든 빼는 가서 지대나 말아도 되게 지도나 임바이나 아니 수수게 내가도 누구 첨부쇼 내가도 누구 첨부쇼 아니 랑게 지도 내가 만지 받아 아니 지금 랑게 골로 제봐 아니 수수게 지 강에 첨부도 이리서 받는 가서 아직 선배 수수도 골로 나가 주는 수수가 가르치는 게 너들이 게 가르치는 채를 가르치는 건 쇼레스 근데 지금도 와서 어디 나시 빼디 나시 아니 말아도 딱 얘기 가르치는 뭔가 그 이식이 가르치는 대주마다 나한테 뭔가 가르치는 쇼레스 어디서 그래서
Such a person would reflect wisely upon what it is, why it is, what causes one to be so mindless, to be bewildered. Why is it so? Just as if at work one makes a mistake or gets things mixed up and faces difficulties in their work, they'll put their hand to their head and reflect, how is it that I've gotten into this mess? What could I do differently? Here, why is it that I am so apparently mindless? Why am I bewildered? It is appropriate to consider.
근데 이들마다 나게 코나 지시 요상 얘기 고배나다 가르게 수수 딱지 체 수수도 심죽체로 땅에 코나 가르치다 얘기 꾸룬 가르치기면도 얘기 지단 가르치기면도 아니 수수가 딱에 세면나 가르도 땅에 가리 만들고 얘기 배 젠도 가르쳐도 유 가르쳐도 오 된데 딱 수수도 딱지 체 아니 딱야 수수가 반달 세대기 밀루티 랑바 되기 아니 캡센 랑이 캐랑 거야 지어도 캐랑 거야 다 이제 봐 치만에 봐 둘이 거배하다 그냥 손도 라는 맞게 봐 제약이 다 들려 전투와 치고래 해서도 쉬고도 보고 열어서
This situation merits examination, reflection, an examination of one's attitude. What is wrong with my attitude? An examination of one's actions. What is wrong in these actions? What are the conditions that cause this? What are the causes for this? One would examine oneself and recognize that they have the embodiment that is exceptional in a human embodiment, but not having taken its essence, not ensuring and securing greater fortune in one's future, risking the misfortune of the hell realms. What is the cause of this?
다 이제 이제마다 저 가담 받고 주인이 맨날 저마다 가담 받고 가자 땡지 토리기 되었어 땡 토리기 되어서 딱 토리기 되어서 하장 땡모습으로 왔다 대화가 나는 대화 아 치수 대화 땜쇼 대화 딱 안에 더 유념이나 들어왔다 도배하게 대화도 땡기 대화성이 들었다 토리기 땡기 대화세 대당 아니 예송기 동행이부터 예송숨기 동행이부터 동행이로 동행이부터 아니 다른 말하면서 가려서나 담가자 뒤술 내대요 그래서 예송숨기 동행이 냥기 임배 토리기 되어디 냥기 임배 이 가린 냥기 임배서 아주 잘라 이 담가지기나 담가체 뒤술들 내대요 그래서
The Kadamba adepts of old would put it usually so: heavenly contentment, heavenly delights, they are the longest lasting. They are the most stable. They are the lasting. They are the greatest contentment. This is in our grasp now. Also in our grasp now is a fortune of intolerable suffering in the lower, unfortunate realms. It is then this or that. Today is the moment of a great choice between heavenly delights and contentment or unbearable suffering in the hell realms. It is as though one were presented with two objects to choose from.
도시 세상다 대된 알아서 고급디 간데나 다 달린 고급디 밀루디 레네 아니 때 토리 토비하게 주디 좀 맞나 아니 내가 예바딩에 송고 동에 연구해야지 차사를 되는 먼저 담가 너를 차사를 담가 너를 차사를 담가 달린 담가 만너라 토리기 때와 토바디다 내 송고 동에 니부디가 이가 랑게 달라고나 랩사를 알레자도 좀 왔다 내 송고 동에 알아서다 뭐만에 답에 다음에 양사를 토리기 때와 되니 하장을 톱하고 차대요 제가 다 달린 안들라 토리기 때와 두개의 고급대로 와서는 대인이 아니 수수고 담가대 만나러 가셔야 되시라 개치부 차대요 그래서
The opportunity that follows with having gotten the human basis of leisure and endowment, when it isn't employed to become cause for those heavenly delights and contentment, when one is unable to put it to that use, then one ensures one's suffering the hell realms, then one's choice has been made. Today is the moment to make the right choice. The opportunity and the choice is now in one's hands, and already innumerable times untold suffering of hell realms has been our lot already, and now this moment's opportunity to secure that much more difficult to achieve state of heavenly delight and contentment is upon us. It would be now that we would make no mistake.
대제 세상 인도선부터 노섬 동에 노섬 송제 통시 앙서 노 섬스 노스 셰바라고 섬스 섬버 섬 먼저 셈 요라라고다 시와 라고다 참으세요. 섬 스페티니가 돈 만원을 채네. 아니 달래 냠내디 아니 치마 토리기 때와 토비야 기치도 담구요와 어디 담가디 만원을 채쇼 송아래서
지선지 아니 카리스 아니 렉바 아니 라과다 아니 차마 니게 베시다네
이거 송대치노 송대치네 아니 수수가 담가디 아치마 동에 냠먹어 대와 토자 땡기 대와 토자 된다고 냠내디나 니야 랍쇼스
디 직시 가르 키어바이
노섬
디 말봐
말하다
진주 말어 라
가담 붙이나 요 가담 같이 라마스는 하스테 가담 베기 가서 로존나 요 론데 디서 노섬 노스 노 뭐나나 노스 그잖아 셈자 맞아
라
삼스도 셈 아무체 셈라고다 참은 얘기 저 송대도 전에 아니 담가대 만으로 치셔 아송 랍제
the Kadamba adepts urged, unite the grosser minds with the subtle perception too, and make your correct choice now. The mind in its grosser aspects and its subtler aspects would unite to make the right choice, that one's undertaking become cause for heavenly delights, for heavenly contentment. That is the choice between contentment and great pain.
다들 반제 니몰로 선데 바이오가 차와서 다도 네가 뜻이 좋고래서
And now we turn our attention to conscientiousness to abandon mental affliction.
다 반제 니몰로 때는 바이오가 차고야 될래 나식 여도 숨 방법이 니모 님이 셰바스 니모 님이 셰바스도 니모기 니미 셰바세 타데네 니버들 니모빵 저러 도가 서비스 바로 니모빵 내지 선물 시도가 다 니모빵배까지를 써봤어 니모빵배까지를 써봤어 니모빵배 니모빵빠야 되는 깔에 가보러 봐 지단 콜에 깔에 먹자고 지까지를 써봤어 써리봤어 니모빵배까지를 써리봤어 오야 다 니모 지대로 봉수스 어디 숨지고네 아니 다 내시가 저도 그래서
The consideration of conscientiousness toward to abandon mental afflictions is organized into 3 sections. The first, a consideration of the disadvantages, the pitfalls of mental afflictions, and a consideration of the appropriateness of finding a means for tolerating the hardship which the abandonment of mental afflictions entails, for using conscientiousness to ultimately abandon mental afflictions is an arduous task and requires great tolerance. And the third, how it is that one abandons in actuality the mental afflictions.
다 그게 이제서마다 이는데 다 니미 셰바들아 자와들아 다 당보 삽제 당보들이 니모가 라마메바 셰바세 삽제 당보들도 이게 자와들아 세단 식소 자는 지 강라라서 유미나 빠자미야 지달달 지식달 빠자미야 지식달 대다 다기 전시체에서 즉시도
In the first section, considering conscientiousness toward abandoning mental afflictions, we consider our powerlessness in the face of mental afflictions. In the 28th verse, on page 57, anger, lust, these enemies of mine are limbless and devoid of faculties. They have no bravery, no cleverness. How then have they reduced me to such slavery?
오야 다 단다디가 니모 담보하려고 니모기 셰바라 뭐라 담보 니모디 뭐시한 거 니모디 뭐듯이 지기 예소지
In order to recognize the great drawbacks of having mental afflictions, one must become familiar with them and identify them.
자와 고라나라 데데디스도 자와 고라나라 담보들은 가도 오야 세단 섹소 자는지 세단다 섹소 섹과 콘도다 대자니부디 자나 원수 명명요 레소라시 세단 섹소 세단다 섹과스 되자로
And then in the root verse then, anger, lust, these enemies of mine. Anger and lust particularly are named here.
오야 세단 섹소 다 군이 명모수 면에 다 얘기 줘라다 가리어스나 아니 다 사회니모다 예외니모스 때문에 시중 그래서
아니 싸워라.
사회니모다 예외니모
In the mentioning by name of these two, anger and lust, we move into mental afflictions that are root mental afflictions and secondary mental affliction.
오야 그냥 이제 가시다나 따와다 means 따와다 means 되게 니모 시작아 배제 수수도 그래서
And also regarding mental afflictions, presentations of the material will mention too mental afflictions which entail a view and those that do not.
오야 따다마도 돼 뭐가 저기 나는 제발이나 코하게 자와들 시베 자와 차지 주스 시베 코하게 자와들 차지 주스 제가 니모 주 장에 제가 해서
And then 로본이니
no so
no. And then Vasubandhu's Abhidharma Kosha, the mental afflictions are enumerated as 6 subtly increasing.
Oh, yeah, that didn't matter. Deja teaching Kondo dance. I would have deja jet in a Kondo chet. And then Naje Marik Tawata, Naje, the Marik Niche, she said. And it has on the Tawas, Tawata Tesum Sin. The Nimutuk.
The Loban evening,
The way you says Deja teaching Kondo dance, Deja the Kondo Niche, Naje Marik Niche. Tawata Tesum Tan,
and these subtly proliferating mental afflictions, according to Vasubandhu, are desirous attachment, aversion, pride, ignorance, doubt, and view.
Yeah, that in it, Tadegalama, Tawatela, 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 and subject Nachi. Tawatela, Nachi to some Jigta, Tardache, Tawa Chonziche, Surum Tuji Chonziche, and that's Jigta, Tarda, Tawa Chonzi, Turu Chonzi, and then Loda. Oh, Nachi, the Gigan, Taji juice. Then
Alan, the number and Gasha.
She got what? She got Tao Kurantino, the Tangatsarwa, Chigdata, Tardata, Tao Chonzi, Children to Chonzi, or that is she together.
Then a lot of love. And again, within the category of view itself counted as one in this category, that is then parsed into 5. There is view, the view of the transitory collection, extreme view, holding to a faulty code of ethics as supreme, or a faulty moral conduct as supreme, and wrong view. So these are the 4 additions then to view itself: the view of the transient collection, extreme view, holding a faulty moral practice as supreme, and wrong view.
Oh, Chizata, you move to get Zaway, Mus, any near you move this sending on the Jelma. Okay, Simju, she do younger, any that they could have my younger Chita. Near you must do Zaway, you move to the Zaway, you move it on, you move more project. I tell them to you move care or watching you, and you move that you should come back and get the response.
That any thought any
new issues.
Any robot chicken and care or chiba.
Oh, that's all I did. You moved on, you move mine, and you moved the new. Oh, got it, do come. Or the lizard, you should come back and get or it's a job.
Therefore, the 6 subtly proliferating mental afflictions of Vasubandhu's kosha, and the 4 additional views of the transitory collection, and so on, are 10 subtly increasing mental afflictions. And in addition to this, presented, as we will find in the mind and mental factors presentation, are an additional 20 secondary mental afflictions. They are not mental afflictions per se, they are related to and accentuating primary mental afflictions.
Oh, yeah, that the Ganzuta control the Sibit, Zawa Lagway, that Harasana, and this Siba quality, Siba quarters, Sibas and the quarters, and that's what a Siba quality, Jevala, 2. Then later, you 레다 니모 니제 레다 니모 니가 나네 니모도 유고 조 차기어래서
Cyclic existence is synonymous with samsara. So, cyclic existence or samsara have for their causes karma and mental afflictions. These are the two. But principle as cause for cyclic existence or samsara are the mental affliction.
오야 니모디 빵사나 니모 메나 레유나양 코알이 지금 말해서
So it is then that when mental afflictions are abandoned and nevertheless karmas remain, nevertheless one is not born again into cyclic existence, samsara.
오야 니모 메나 레디게 되니 아주 빼드리샤 사분 싱가타베 수인디 추다 랜드 마차나 그 누구 제가 말와 대나신 아주 레디 니모다 마차나 와리 겨울에 규칙이 말해서
This illustrates the role of mental afflictions. In a field, when a seed is planted, if the field is unwatered and is not fertile, then that seed does not germinate. So it is when mental afflictions are absent, there's no birth into cyclic existence.
오야 니모다 채소나 사분데 추다 랜드 그 시간나 맞다베나 나고야 거는 요거 제기로 대나시 레디 니모다 채소나 양 고알에 견주 거는 제기래 동해 거는 제기래 손으로지
When a karma meets a mental affliction, just as when a seed is met with water and nutrients and grows, when a mental affliction encounters, rather when a karma encounters mental affliction, then all over again, one is born into cyclic existence. All over again, one is enmeshed in pain.
오야 하여튼 저기 아니 저 니모디디 아니 니모디라 가서 배지나 시도 세단 식소 잔는니스 보라 안절로 지대나리나 수술로 뇌바지니 수술로 두고 다니 아니 디레이나 콜 드라스라고 되나지 아니 세단로 소고 니모디다라 아니 드라스니 아니 민다그래서
What is said here, anger, lust, these enemies of mine. In the world, when we are under attack, whoever attacks us, hurts us, these become our enemies. So to anger, lust, these are called enemies of mine.
오라 제가 대자가 세단로 소고 니모디다디 말한도 뇌바지게 요래 뇌바지게 요나 양 코안이 배 말한도 단도 세디기 뇌바지니 나신 아니 강화 요바 배 간달 콜라이 배 뇌바지야게 아니 직파 강바다 라바다 아니 미도 수보다 아니 배 간다 또 첨보도 또 취주 되게 여바도 되게 말했어. 강라라서 유민라서 생기버디.
Anger, lust, these enemies of mine. Worldly enemies, living enemies of ours, truly so, have their hands and their legs and their eyes, and they are of more or less physical strength. But there's no such range among these. They are limbless and devoid of faculty.
오예 특수버디 빠장이야 지다리스 빠장서 좀 배. 수너바징에 줄라는 수로 너바지야기 배. 꼭 전부 아니 라자 천라배 안다르지 천다 되네 라운 뇌지야 차지 망고요. 대제 여바르서 대야 말했어. 양배 개보 전배 대제 맨날 양 개보 전 잡부진데 칼루야 뭐 깨지냐 보시네 미고고 다 루야요. 대제르서 대제야 말했어. 말로
They have no bravery, no cleverness. when we are attacked by warriors, they wield weapons, they use devices in their attack, either that or they use deceit and subterfuge or something of the kind. But these mental afflictions have no bravery, no cleverness.
Oh, yeah. That no conditions that you are done. Go country contract and the never country is that you are the one. The never is not Teda Shiva Teda Kare. Section budget. Teda Daki, Teda Daki change chase. Dad one the kid jealous. Oh, the Teda Daki change chase.
Oh,
Teda Daki changes. Oh, Teda Daki changes. Tedagi, Rani pay Teonashi. Any bed round never. Any doing your cigarette, doing it, Jimmy cigarettes.
They have no bravery, no cleverness. How then have they reduced me to slavery? So then what? So then how is it that one comes under their sway? One does as a slave does. One is enslaved by them.
Oh, yes, that's the condo by said Didi, nobody can Janashi, Lala Chanja Toba, and Lava Yoba Gamba Yoba, the Mare, Su Marete, Ina Yang, Cook, nobody did, and the Rana Poma Meba, Ram Mebachin, Toyota Shichin, and the COVID. Back under Toyota Shichin, and the Coca doing it. Cook Ram Meba doing young to be your response.
So it is then that one faces anything with form that wields weapons. It isn't any such situation. The mental afflictions have no form, but they have from the distant past to the present robbed us of liberty and kept it from us and kept us unfree.
Oh, you found the day, you to let the shot ring on the time you motivate the motor to set. It's usually moving more through. And then you motivate more to another sunny dinner by you motivate you make the share, and guessing you which had and they gonna dog at sick day to see Jackson. And they shall Juju, they shall never to the name the insurance, forget another day. Same June calls this, she might see Jackson.
This is an introduction for familiarization of us with mental afflictions so that we understand their pitfalls, their great disadvantage. And then we'll continue to return to these in the root text here. But we'll conclude this moment of the way of the Bodhisattva and turn now to minds and mental factors.
Oh, yes, that was some young of the Tajinala, Tambodella, Kundruma, so to she sent about a yellow cheddar, Rebona, domestic, so Kundrunga, the seminar, they will check in the Dom City, so to she sent about a yellow cheddar, Rekba, Nums, Kundrunga, Shechawos. Ah,
Do in a inji.
Kundrunga, Bobo,
对对，他对了，是吧？
啊。
Gola,
운동하고 뭐 시에서 고도 돈 지고 가라. 그 뒤치는 어떤 얘기로 돈을 소화 주시 삼바당 일체다. 소화 주시 삼바체 일체다. 그러면 레고 일체 받는다. 운동하기 장가지도 거기도
소르는 디시 셈보다 레바 일을 세바나 셈중 군르 나이시
운동하 장가지 지나나 거기 티샤는 나가 예우서
The omnipresent mental factors were put in summary form: feeling, discernment, intention, contact, and attention are called omnipresent mental factors. If you recall this summary verse, feeling, discernment, intention, contact, and attention are called omnipresent factors. You'll recall the omnipresent mental factors.
오예 운동하고 장가지 다들 이거도 유명한 장가지 비워데 유명한 굽들도 유명한 장가지에서 굽들다 돔레스 유명한 디더테스 듬범 템바타 텐지셔를 나보
Then the mental factors with a determinate object. For those who have this, who have the English translation of Science and Philosophy in the Indian Buddhist Classics, Volume 2, this is page 111. The verse summary reads, the five with a determinate object are thus: aspiration, resolution, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom.
오, 텐지셔를 나보 어디 장가지세 아디나네 저 장가나는 거니까 아무 듬바도 들어서다 듬바도 그냥 시에서와 듬바지 다 들은 거 뭐가 시에들 뭐가 니바 뭐가 유행아이 난 니바 뭐가 생기다 지시자들에서
The first of these, aspiration, we have concluded. We turn our attention to the second, resolution. Elsewhere translated as belief.
그래서 다다지 뭐가 생기 뭐가 쉐발라 뭐가 생기데 유텔라 연대다 균소 공화당 tö바 쳔바 소라 아니 라그레스 뭐가 치서도 유텔라
The definition of resolution is mental factor, rather, the cause of resolution is to see, hear, or remember, and so on, the qualities of the object.
어제 다 뭐가 생기데 뭐 가르쳐졌으나 뭐가 생기데 딱그 뭐디 가르쳤으나 나랑이 통화가 tö바 다 온봉하고 유치한 통화 tö바로 쏘바스 통화 tö바 레바 용화 누바 어디서 가가 열어 어디서 때네 가데 유가리 용 통에나다 tö에나다 가르쳐이나 양 아니 유식라 미네 랑도지 대대 코나다 짐바 코나다 짐베 남바친지 심중지라 nimmer basta 그래서
The definition of resolution is a mental factor that, by its own power, upon perceiving an object previously seen, heard, and so on, it may be an object seen, heard, smelled, tasted, any of the sense faculties, apprehension of any object. Upon perceiving an object previously seen, heard, and so on, it is a mental factor that by its own power has the aspect of apprehending it to be just so.
오야 다들이 이 빼줘들라 수수가 쓰면 싫어가 빼줘 보고도나 랑이 된시가 째네 네바네바 따르 대가라 이 사바 여러 사베스 that's semjungjo 어디를 나기로 했어.
An example to illustrate this, to make it understandable. An example is an instance of a mental factor that, in relation to an object ascertained through analysis, thinks it is just so, in accord with that ascertainment.
되는다. 가리라 배나 매도도 미네 매도 이지 비랑이 지 통, 엄마 통이 요 매도 지금 삼로 땅에 어디 매도야 이 대가라 이 삼바도다. 아니 라기 뭐시고 미도지 통가 어디 대가라 가지미 통제 대가라 레샤 이 대가라 레 삼바스도 어 되게 삼이가 뭐 대가 아니 스타 너바 너 심중 너바스라 오레스모스.
A flower one has seen before, when one apprehends it, the mind that resolves that that's it. This is that flower. Or seeing a friend, seeing that friend, the mental factor that resolves this is that friend indeed. Such a mental factor is a mental factor of resolution.
다들 이거 콩이 거창은 봐봐 도매기 뭐 군두래 뭐가 간시나 예배 몸보라 지들 예바신도 짐바때 아니 셈 메초아 이 레제노 소데 콩들이 장요래서.
The scriptural source for this, the compendium of knowledge, Abhidharmakosha, states what is resolution. It apprehends the ascertained thing to be just as it is ascertained, so it functions to prevent diversion.
죄송. 야, 다 이내 양 콜어야 다 도버도 다 간달리어서 야 뭐 다진가 뭐 공막이 공단송아. 뭐 오면 저기 제외가 대시 잡아이나 그래서 예벌 따는 장신 장신비 유대라 대코나도 진배 뭐보다 미개와 예배 뭐보다 라유 또로 이무고가 송소 도저를 다디 아주 단단 가지고 유행하디 가와타르스나 심중 계획이 콜 장요로 와 다다네 이네 아니 대가랑 무거워야 심중 미기we 콜라야 아니 되게 뭐가 여바치 하발레기 여서도 뭐 오만 공타가 해서지 세부상
No, just this might cause for doubts addressed here in this text by mentioning the kosha, the treasury of knowledge, from the foundation vehicle school. According to the commentaries on the treasury of knowledge, resolution is not necessarily a mind that realizes its object, because there are non-virtuous resolutions that apprehend their objects in accord with false ascertainments of those objects. To explain the etymology of the term,
아니 뭐바게 다시 뭐바세 찍디기 아니 다시도 근데 여기서나 아니 콩들 렉저기 깨나 너무 뭐바게 찍디 장도와 렉저기 깨되다나 아비모차 셰바디 라유 녜베나 아니 뭐바세 라버레스 거들이 콩다모.
To explain the etymology of the term, the Sanskrit word ati moksha has the connotation of determining its object. Hence, it is called resolution.
야, 따지난 뭐바다 뒤시 니 아니 제레 파타는 저우 요때야 테스트 쳐버 요래서
Apparently, there are resemblances between resolution and discernment. However, there are differences between the two as well.
야, 다 쳐버도 가리어서나 뭐바기 뭐베 랑덥지 셈 율라 미초와 그래서 뒤시기 랑덥기 유라 타니 도바 타니 도바다 찍 아니 양조 묘백에 가서는 묘바디기 묘베 랑덥기 유텔라 지마세 뒤시기 유테 뿌리 제바 뿌리 제바서는 꼭 디네 디디 말이 들으스 파서 예시가 들어와 오 디디 제바 디디 제발 요래서
There are the following differences between resolution and discernment. Resolution, by its own power, prevents diversion of the mind from its object, whereas discernment, by its own power, applies a classificatory convention to the object. Also, resolution, by its own power, apprehends its object to be just so, whereas discernment merely distinguishes its object. It does the hair splitting to distinguish one thing from another.
Oh yeah, that puri chebada simba ni chede. Am mabagi chele kares, mabagi laga karchi chele kares na rangi yu da yende che, kyen da yende kaya maba sum yorwa. Te subu kanru la te kona darar mene shendo mitruwa cheba. Mitruwa cheba de ko chele.
The function of resolution is such that, in regard to an object's qualities or faults or neither, there may be these three qualities, faults, or neither qualities nor faults. It resolves the object to be just so and prevents diversion to something else. This prevention of diversion to something else is the function of resolution.
Oh yeah, di kung de lo gombo kome number 10 la abi duwa thangwa 10 la abi duwa leje myoba le khang da den shena mi ba da jön da yede khang ma ba de myoba leje no kung de thangwa.
This is followed by citation of Compendium of Ascertainment, which says, what function does resolution have? It has the function of being resolved about good qualities, faults, or neither of those regarding the object.
그래서 다 myoba na lo mi ro kan de yasna yo ro kan de na oh ya kong gi ten la abi duwe shung le shung wa tar sa da ten la abi duwe shung le she ba tar chena rang gi mi yu ji yen de la mi be myoba chik se di kyen la mi be myoba se 아니 디 쩐다 얘네 가야 많이 받아 미고 몇받아 수모.
The Compendium of Ascertainments categorizes it into three divisions. So again, as above, citation of the Compendium of Ascertainments, which categorizes it into three divisions: resolution perceiving good qualities in its object, resolution perceiving faults in its object, and resolution perceiving neither good qualities nor faults in its object.
Oh yeah, that's in junga jigana di dubatere. That duba myoba singide. That kada myoba singide sem ge yu never cheba. Cheba la ta roba chiye ge ni sem jung de la myoba sem bage sem ge yu di machuba. Bage sem di kanda pena stirwa. Sem di yu di dai rang yu di sem di yu di zimbar chiye chedu ani de la ya zimbar chiye ge roba chiye do de la sem ju ji de la myoba sem ming ta yo re song ji
Rangula nebar cheba la roba chegin gi semjode
rang zimbar chebo
zimbar cheba
myoba
neba cheba
yu de la yu di zimbar cheba sem di yu di roba chiye da sem di yu di zingiro zimbar chiye da bage zimbar che tuya de ani su chi was na sem ju myoba de what is.
So then this, the seventh of the 51 mental factors here, is resolution. Resolution, the mental factor that, when the mind apprehends an object, is the very mental factor that resolves the object for the apprehending mind.
예, 다들 유명한 이야기, 다들 유명한 세대 또 가르를 잘쓰는 셈 개와 셈이 셈 개와 미개와 로마ten 소면으로 셈 계획이 콜라 예버도 dro고 얘기 셈중진 거 샤요래 손.
축성 뭐나.
셈 아주 셈 개와요와 셈가 개와다 미개 로마ten으로 셈 개와되게 콜도 예버도 고얘기 유인자 아니 유니스 그런 것들 본시제 모두 그 셈디 또도 개심체 디 코드 유가 셈중
제단데 아니 계신 얘나데 아니
디 코드
용의 악마디 고그로 The mental factors with a determinate object, as there are virtuous primary consciousnesses and non-virtuous primary consciousnesses and consciousnesses that are unspecified whether they are virtuous or non-virtuous, that are neither. These the mental factors with a determinate object are those mental factors that will necessarily accompany a virtuous primary consciousness.
예, 당저 이제 셈중을 주제기 콜라 봐 보시는 아니 로든 책이나 뭐 오마게 숨어서 다 축심부터 그래서
제단데 아니 계심디 소심디 개와 초소 전화 인지민지 데 용행아디고 그러
유능한 콜라
For a detailed understanding of the 51 mental factors, one necessarily studies too the kosha, the compendium or treasury of knowledge of the foundation vehicle itself.
예, 다들 셈중 콜라야 너도 실사고 책에서 내가 저도 셈중 대해서 모두 채워를 마도 마 대인자부터 때는 지우수수 되는 셈중 콜도 되게 너도 책이나 몸에 흉대서 뭐 그래서
Now we're only treating this in the most cursory fashion, in a very rough way. But for a in-depth understanding of mind and mental factors, one must study the kosha, the compendium or treasury of knowledge of the foundation vehicle.
예, 다들 내 셈중 뭐가 같지가 들으라서 아니야 당아서 계속 치고야 되는 데서 저트는 시작이 손스.
Then we'll conclude with aspiration, rather with resolution here, and with that the section on mental factors, and now if there are any doubts or any questions that would be raised, now's the time.
야, 콜라 요새 공부를 상황이 위해서다.
Lamsan has a question.
I wondered if you could help me understand the difference between a mental affliction not a karmic formation? Is it different than the analogy that you gave of the mental affliction encountering a karma? If you could please elaborate for me.
그래서 디 뇽몽 세리디 당 뒤체 세리디 아니 지버르베 되나 라 뒤체 말에 뒤체 당 뇽몽 아니
제시도 가서 되는 미달과도 뒤지 세대고요.
뒤질라는 디 봉봉하기 나는 뒤체바디 당 뇽몽데 아니 지버르베 아니 야벨리 키바르 셔서데 아니 고아차야라 아니 기시기사시 나르지.
예, 예를 배나 소화도 유시나 잘 말와.
뒤치나마에
뒤시
라스시디로
뒤체버 뒤체버 말와.
말이 뒤체 시바디 풍풍하게 나는 시바디당 아니 뇽몽 뒤치고 말베 치고 너버베 아니 디기 개발이
풍부가나는 쉐바서 풍부가나는
서로 뒤시
뒤시보 나마셔 부모가
뒤시대당 아니 녀몽데 아니 지금 말해
뭐 치부지게 잘 말해.
나 개발 간데 개발 쇼스데 아니 하고야라 아니 사실 나오지
나 당분간 뒤시에서 이거 풍부가나는 뒤시에 봤으니까 맞아 대대로 뒤시에 되라 니모 임바다 니모 마임바 찬이가 요래서
제선 뒤에 말해 뒤시에라
뒤시에 봐.
라슬라스 뒤시에 봐
뒤시에 봐. 쉐바를 풍부가나다.
그래
뒤시에서 당하고 이게
제자능이 아니 군조 랑상이 아니 지와 쉬어데 아니 뒤체 시바데 뒤체 말해 뒤체 당 녀몽데 지고르베 뒤체 들메 뒤체 봐 아니 퐁퐁하게 나는 시바데 시바데
당보디 소 뒤시
서로
남아
서로 뒤체 서로 뒤체
뒤시
뒤체 시바데 뒤체
유모지.
유모.
뒤가 가져. 다 그때 다 연구래. 뒤제바스라나 뒤제바들라 디유마 세미 연구 말아. 세바 연구 말아.好说 아, 근데 유모는 새벽에 지다. 어디지 개발자 어디지라.
Karmic formations are not necessarily conscious states. Mental afflictions are necessarily conscious states.
세상다 샘다 샘중디 샘이 내가 가서 바게 들어와서 뒤시에 나가서 숙심부 용어로 와. 소하고 그 본방가 안에 입에 나를 영어로 와.
선바.
뭐 수고 서브 뒤시 본보. 뒤시 본나는 거라. 뒤시에 본나는 서브 본나는 거로 와. 어디나 용어래. 제가 뒤제바 나는 유모디 용어 말해서.
The minds and mental factors as cognitive states are connected with the presentation of or are connected or are states of feeling, states of distinguishing, whereas karmic formations are not necessarily cognitive states or mental states.
다배나서 자녀 이모 다가게도 여자세다 공동하게 말이 나왔어. 그 당도 이게 강화로 거여서나 망체 뒤식 나요. 쉐버나.
In the enumeration of mental afflictions, desirous attachment, aversion, arrogance, view, rest, these are largely they fall largely within the category of the aggregate of discrimination or feeling.
일단 맛있어요. 여기 월마데 본봉하고 드시는데 아니 본봉하고 친이 들려고 그래요. 아니 그냥 됐어도 그래서
Later, we'll turn our attention to definitions to the five skandhas, the aggregates, and when we do, this will help clarify the matter for you.
아니 다 좋으신 분들이요.
That's the follow-up question. Sorry.
Yeah.
So then is when Geshe-la spoke, when Geshe-la gave that analogy, is would a practice be in consciously meeting the mental affliction with, I guess, whatever is available, with mindfulness, with control, with the antidote, etc. That being conscious of it is somehow owning it, that even that karmic momentum or potential is there. Oh man, I don't know how to do this. Like the seed, the conditions that aren't the carbon is the water, or the carbon is the seed, in that analogy.
Is that the question, Dan? That's the question. Is the
Yeah,
premise.
let me just say that,
Then the two and the that the guess the paycheck song. That the and the Nyomon Mar sing la ni saban tabna. Pero that the pedi saban ra. Dendi Nyomon reve Yamena le reve. Pedela, pedeshadu. On the
사베디 아주 배배자주 잡아 요즘 규단建议라 그러와 규단建议규단建议쓰면 알았으나 규디 레드建议이모드가 와 대지식이 이모드가 와 어디를 세다다 사베디 레드 사베디 냠도 유로와 뉴다 추다 그러다 여러와 인수코기 유목설 차대.
There are causes and conditions both in the pair of karmas and mental affliction. The karma is the cause. The mental afflictions are the conditions. In the illustration, the karma is like a seed. The mental afflictions are like the fertilizer, the water, and the warmth in the ground, conditions for the germination of the seed.
So remaining unconscious and indulging or whatever with those mental afflictions is going to be nourishing karmic seeds that we may not want to come to fruition and deal with.
어쨌든 근데 녀몬데서 때 중내 소소 심 중내 안에 때 시신다 전배게 차네 근데 전바다 안에 시신이 왕기 안에 때 녀몬데서 깨마다 안에 nemboten 야메나 안에 만 보중체 공그와 가이스는 때
맞지버지 다비세 게 사수나 감사고 니무 제봉 뭐신 버지 하고 니 받좀 버지 어디 지고 그래서 시신다 전반적이 내가 들어와.
Yes, precisely. Mindfulness and vigilant introspection remain vigilant. First one endeavors not to allow the mental affliction to ever arise, but then one remains vigilant, and the moment one does, mindfulness and vigilant introspection becomes aware of it, and then one can endeavor to eliminate it immediately.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
手工结巴了第几节？手工结巴了第几节？ Do not be patient with mental afflictions. There's nothing but loss when one is tolerant of mental afflictions. But an adversary be tolerant and patient with them.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la. If we'll try to work out the distinction between resolution and discernment, and I'm wondering if this is accurate to say that resolution is certainty, whether accurate or not, about what something is, whereas discernment only knows what it's not. So, for example, like this light, like certain resolution would say this light is circular. The lights in the ceiling are circular, whereas discernment would say it's not square, not triangular. Is that accurate?
Merbadan, and Merbadan Dusege, and he kepardi, tata, and kepardi, tata, neba, tata, ye, and the chiva de shuyin, ra, kepardi, and the Pesha Nye Goyala, the Merba, there, and the Susu Yula, and the Jitar Nangshin Neba Neba. The Dagran,
Metro.
not the Dagran, Dagran, and the Yudi Kang Yempati, Dega Nangshin Neba Nebadi, Merba, and the Yembare. Then I do see, and the Susugi you de dan you dele shimpa denzo kane kak shugi and the zemba yemba.
这做不到，무슨这些都差不多。你他看的鱼的鱼些这个鱼吧，这个他那的，鱼些这个鱼的，不是切不的嘛的。
Puri and you de my empathy, and Puri sebadi, and de my empathy, Mazinchene, the empathy, neba. Then the merbadi, and the UD, and now I Jishin, the neba.
나랑 통화도 퇴바 가리나 뭐 통화도 퇴 유화직 뭐도 땅으로 와. 들렸다니 다 뒤에서 뒤 대가라 이 삼바 저러와. 뭐 배나랑게 배나 전적이랑 퇴여나 아니 퇴조 퇴한될 때 양주 삼무다도 참바디 삼무 콜도 봐. 어디 가서 퇴조 대가라 이 삼바 챙겨도 와. 참바디 뭐 받지. 다 배나 가도 다 비시 되기 배나 거기 랑기 유도 다들 저랑 나와나지 제 많이 받나 채네 되고 이내 거기 가서 뿌리 제버스도 뭐 배나 가도 레저로지나 레고되기 어디 잡으면도 이 잡부도 되게 가서 나한테 나 가서 거야도 잡부도 잡부도 찍어도 삼바지 이 나로를 점주기 이와 체리 니에바 저와 유치다 제벌 체리 제가 그 뿌리 제버스 그 뒤쪽바를 대 잠바를 어디 야고도 대 잠부도 먼저들 예치는 그 소화제로 와 어디다 뒤시 배로 자서
that's any sabachine and heber any short said the sabachine last one and labdan the tada girmason that in the guys and the donda derwa and merba de and you de and 통수 de and 통수 de and sema yenandra mayenandra yenandra mayenandra and 지신도 and neba de yamane neba nepar and never somebody ra nyambadi and merba and then you de la megne you de da menratsu de yewa chebe and simjonde
어떻게 나는 지금 그 문제도 또 번으로 와 제벌이 여봐 근데 그 많이 봐 넘버 제일 고들이 말이 여치네 아니 고 니가 치는 되고
레디가기를
이 넘버 신이 뒤시제 뭐가 되게 넘버 채고 말해 유디 말아가지 짐바로 주면 되고
알아 또 보내봐
또 보면서 근데 그것도 맨날 암주 미기 통교 잘라대 대비 두세나 응ум하게 대 통사로 와 양주 통도서 봐이 대비 대가나래 삼번씩 챙겨도 와 템버 템버도 어디 생중디 아니 이제 뭐 봐세
디토체를
어제도 잘했다 어제도 또 받쳐버려 아이네 고 진단이 유디 코나타 아주 메트로라나
맞
북만 주고 가다 곧 대처가 되더라 이 삼바 들어와 뿌리 제버되게 두시되게 이건 대비들의 말에 디레면도 디레도 삼냐 삼바때만 14씩 유치를 만들어 거기 유치랑 때 제봐요.
One could get into a discussion of conceptual versus direct perception. That's not relevant in this particular case. The difference between the two is for resolution, consistent with past experience, the mental factor of resolution resolves and confirms that, for instance, what one has heard is in fact a reflection of just how it is, and this is the resolution. In discernment, in the hair splitting of distinguishing features, in discernment, it's not a resolution of a past experience. It is the discerning between, for instance, a soft texture. One feels the material and feels for softness or roughness, or finds its texture in particulars then, and or qualities of another kind, a good quality or not, through the discerning in the particular property of the thing. So that if one has a familiarity with this book, when one has it in their hand again, the resolution, the mental factor of resolution is the confirming of the apprehension of the book itself just as it is itself. It's not a mental factor involved in any discerning between features. In discernment, there's an attention to greater particularity in features.
우리 제바세 같은다도 됐어. 우리 제수 변화가 저와도 내기나 저와 상당히는 아니 변화도 라보도 스테디즘은 장모질에서 어디 장모를 하셔야 돼. 근데 차오질에서 어디 차오를 하셨습니다. 수중이 거기에 차오다 장모가 예벌 개벌 치는 데 저와 형수나 어디 뒤시게로 우리 제벌로.
For instance, in feeling, in sensation, if one reaches over with one's hand and touches something cold and ascertains coldness, that one has touched something cold, and then reaches over and touches something and and feels heat and knows this is heat and this is cold, there the discerning, the discerning that characterizes discerning has occurred, discerning between heat and cold, for instance.
number chirapa yu chirapa chigro ko na lo pe pena desi so page alo ta china so doji na da ko na lo desen de mangbo yebe na dinana ta dire dire mare na ko pazu yo chetu dire sama yeba yeso na dushi ke barwa di maba di yo chigo ba da ko yu tong yu de garan zi sha wa di ke bar chi ma do ya ta ta ge wa ta de ma re so
No, in the distinction between particulars in the category of experience of feeling sensation, there when there's a evaluation of the properties of this feeling as different from this feeling, and by comparison there's a conclusion reached that one has this particular feeling, then one's mental factor of discernment is involved. The discernment in this regard, discerning between particulars, hasn't got to occur in the process of the mental factor, the cognitive state of resolution. For resolution is a sustained consolidated apprehension.
Yeah, and that's a got to tell ma this got to tell ma simjung ganga she tan and the test castle the naga those ones.
No, there's a path forward too for greater clarity that is full familiarity with the mental factors as we review all of them, and we will come around again to a way to further clarify this.
Oh yeah, this shamba
There are no other.
My question is comparing and contrasting the treasury of knowledge definition of resolution versus the compendium of expertise. It feels like the treasury of knowledge definition suggests virtuous and non-virtuous, or as I've taken it, kind of clashed and potentially unclashed resolution, while it feels like the compendium of ascertainments has overlaid feeling tonality. So not sensation is the way we use the word feeling, but tonality as in pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, here go la the young and maybe now said the la and or the comme je suis d'habitude ngomba kundu sikse dene ane tena baba duba ane nandra ni de jangwa ane 예 거야라 아니 개발 아니 가르들라나 데라 ngobakundu 아니 송와디 아니 개와다 미개와 뇽몽 당 제바당 뇽몽단 뎀바당 뇽몽 그만 이거 그러다 그래 뇽몽단 뎀바당 뇽몽 아니 당 뎀바 마이엠베这样的不错关系说关系그러다 Ore, ni kebar kar de lavna. Ane de ngomba kunde delaya beba serna. Beba seria de ane simjung de ane gewa ane yin jogre migewa yang yin jogre. Yena nyomonda ane jawa cheitsu de ane ngosu ane sungido. Dene ogma de number ten la baba duba le songa de 아니 이 개와다 메개와 아니 가야마 송아체 아니 서로 아니 서로 아니 대화 미대화 당lum마텐 라보 송게도 제상 네 거야라 아니 개발 가르쳐기들라나 아니 뭔가 근데 아니 개와다 미개와 아니 송게도와 근데 텐나 바바 두바데 아니 서로와 대화당 미대화당 뭔가된 아니 라고 송게도 제상 개발이 도가
하나 유단 제복이 처벌도 세계로 해서 유단 제복이 이번에 이게 단다디 뭐 군두가 들라 이 소와 대화기 유제와 소와 미개와 유 동에 따뜻해서 좋아 그다음에 와를 때라도 도와서 저는 그 고단으로 제외나 아니 소와 대화스도 계획이 되고 소와 동에서도 디베 미개와 제보도 로마 때는 게임이 가면 되고 와서 제가 디지가 잘 초고도 잘나 게임이 도서
as you see it you make prominent the causal relation evident here between virtue, which gives rise to feeling tonality that is pleasant, non-virtue, which results in feeling tonality that is unpleasant, and action that is neither virtuous nor non-virtuous, which results in tonality that is neither pleasant nor unpleasant. So you've highlighted the causal relationship here.
이다가도 간다 만족이 단다 시대에 딱딱 예버들이다 하나 가지고 예버들이 연구 말해 이내 가지고 망보지 거샤와 있나 아니 등산 지속 굉장히 약보 예버인데 아니 가지고 단다에 시시죠 되기 아니 밖에 영어도 밖에 단다 하잖아들다 망보 예버 있는데 그래서 최신이 망보 있다니 그 메자 망보 고로 와 거의 있나 아니 무슨 말 뭐만 왜지 아니 수수로 대도 대도 선을 가다 수수로 내가 예 가다 예부 차야라 아니 팬도 친구 열었어 단단 아주 쉐바나지 남자 팬의 심중도 아니 수수보다 간다 남자 대시 대표를 요마가는 셈이 그 남도다 셈기도 초안용다로 쉬우면자 망보인데 망보지 마거나 아니 예치 두고 말해서 왔어.
Now, in order to really ascertain the meaning of such a presentation as that given now, takes time. The perfect comprehension of it will not happen instantaneously. But there's a way to continue to explore in such a way that eventually you are able to ascertain what is described here, and that is just use all that's available online to listen to many who provide instruction in the topic, and there's a variety of presentations, and by listening again and again, you'll have your doubts, which will then be generative for finally comprehending the topic and the material. And it doesn't allow for immediate penetration, because unless one is really able to identify and parse through the feelings one's having oneself in one's experience, and all the discursive thoughts involved in one's own thinking on the topic, it's difficult for that final comprehension to occur.
거기 안에 가서 드린 대상을 언제도 아니 나 드린 아니 제마디마 첨복을 쉐어하셔야 돼. 그래서 강가지 파도 찍을 저 매겨 매버드네 말 가서 콘도 나로 파도 저와 여러 이내 셈기다 셈중 거라게 제레 밀라 돈이 아니 셈중 민민자와 따로 어떻게 싫어 어떻게 차대 그래서
Then we will conclude here and close with our closing recitations, and next week resume with mindfulness. And each of the mental factors, it isn't as though they are unconnected with the others. They are involved in the processes of the others, but they have particular specified functions that allowed for their particular classification in this presentation. Close with prayers.
Lume mare je don do wa yi na de jave wo ka je je te ma sumbe sera kundu yang jave yang je te we je so ne tembe rimba kunzang lam je jo yene drube je na je je sho rangi chi jin tobe lam je ne Shudra zewe trawe kabye ji, drowe yibye mbamba seje ne, jawe temba yukre zenju ji, temba rinjin choje machaba, chabyan nyambara gyurwe chode ne, niji chenpe yira choba ye, pende seze sewar chebar sho, Seje gyawe me jun chile me, le du chanju lanje rembe jang, tade nangye ye la pede jing, gyawe zeba ringo yonye chi, lanzan rube tunjen ruje jing, kege seje me dam me sera kundu gyawe ngaba yi, Nanda Nanda Dewa Bhagyaji Kanze Deva Jula Sujoji Suje Dula Tuba Deyi Tude Nangi Tatu Dojeji Kanshi Gyasu Chugu Gyagirji.
From my two collections, vast is faith that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief fitting Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom I am blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined. May I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddhas be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated path of enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practice, may he always be assisted by the Mighty One, and may motions of prosperity spread everywhere.
Dāgī jīnyī sāpe gyāvā dī tēnān rāvā gulā gāmbēndā Jebara jīzhēn lōsān rābā yī tēmbē nīmbō rīndō sēchē shō Gārī rāvē gurvē shīngāndī pēndān dēvā mālū jōvē Jērē sēvā tīdzī yādzō yī Shabe Sidi Badu Tengirji Jambe Bawa Jeda Kimbala Kundu Sambo Deya Deshinde Eda Kunji Jesu Daloji Yewa Deda Tamje Radu Kuzo Shebe Jawa Tamji Muwa Gama Chodu Ngabade Dāgī gēwē tāwā dīgū gyāng, sāmbō chūjī rādhū mōvārgī, dāñjū sēnjō rīmbō jē, mā jē pānāṁ jē, yevā nyāmbā mē bāyam, kōne kōndō pēvē.
I dedicate whatever virtues I've ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teaching of Venerable Lozan Drapa that shines forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful Sishya Suttensi Gyatso. Please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue, with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious Tuscan ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva deeds. May the supreme jewel of Bodhisattva that is not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Good night to everybody.